Hurricane Dennis coverage continues right here on the Weather Channel.
Those in the Florida Keys have already gotten a taste of Hurricane Dennis. It's back to a Category 3 storm with top sustained winds of 115 miles an hour.
In the meantime, who is next in line? Hurricane Dennis has an entire Gulf Coast under its guns.
Preparing for the worst while hoping for the best. Millions of residents along the Gulf Coast from Florida to Louisiana are in that mindset tonight. Welcome to the Weather Channel's continuing coverage of Hurricane Dennis. I'm Carl Parker.
And I'm Warren Madden. Hurricane Dennis lashed the Florida Keys, and it has been strengthening as it heads for a direct hit on the Gulf Coast.
And you can see just how strong the winds were as the outer bands of Hurricane Dennis passed through the Keys. 60 to 70 mile an hour winds, sheets of rain flooded many streets and made conditions miserable for a time.
Let's get a look at the latest details now on Hurricane Dennis. It's a 7 p.m. Eastern Time advisory. The center about 355 miles south of Panama City, Florida. Top winds now 115 miles an hour. It's still moving at a fairly consistent track northwest at 14 miles an hour. Central pressure has been falling rapidly in the last 6 hours, now down to 947 millibars.
Here's a closer look at the storm, just about as symmetrical as you will see. It certainly has gotten its act together in the last 6 to 8 hours, and we do have advisories now, hurricane warnings in effect all along the northern Gulf Coast. And folks, if you haven't gotten ready by now, it is just about too late. This thing is going to be moving in between, let's say, 24, 27 hours, maybe a bit earlier than that if it moves a little farther towards the east.
Let's get the timeline now here on Hurricane Dennis, and this is what we're thinking. There it is, sitting off the Florida coastline. As we looked in the future, it looks like we're looking at somewhere between the area of Mobile and heading over toward Panama City. Saturday overnight, wind waves gradually increasing. Sunday in the morning, the conditions will be deteriorating. And then by the afternoon and evening, the peak impacts, as right now it looks like Dennis will be making landfall.
Well, as you just saw, that projected path takes the storm right over Mobile, Alabama.
That area just west of the Florida Panhandle is weary of storms after last year's hurricane season, and everyone there is watching Hurricane Dennis. Weather Channel meteorologist Mike Sidel is keeping an eye on Dennis from Mobile. We join him now. Mike, you've been in Mobile all day. Are conditions starting to fade downhill where you are?
Well, we can show you what happened, Warren. We came out here this morning, bright sunny day, as you usually see before a hurricane, because all of that sinking air, that compensating substance to make up for all the rising air with the hurricane. But then around 1:15, it all changed as the first band moved in, the first peripheral band. The top wind gust was about 20 miles an hour, so it wasn't a wind issue, but certainly a ton of rainfall. Look at all the rain coming down. In fact, we picked up 1.5 inches of rain. For our next rain band, let's check out Sky Tracker, and we'll show you what's going on as far as the current look. Now, the one band has moved off into parts of Alabama, southern and southeastern Alabama, away from here. We got some sun. Now it's cloudy, it's breezy. We've got the east-northeast winds. But look at the Sky Tracker right now. Look at the band coming across Panama City Beach. Mike Bettis showed us that coming in live about a half an hour or so ago, and more bands to the south of that, and then up towards Appalachia Bay and Apalachicola. So as we roll on through the overnight and through tomorrow, we'll see more of these bands. As we get closer to the center of Hurricane Dennis, the wind gusts will increase, as we saw with the wind reports out of Key West. 50, 60 mile an hour wind gust, and they were far from the center of Hurricane Dennis. There's your forecast. Again, tomorrow morning, very strong gusty winds, and as the winds increase, they'll become more likely to cause wind damage tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening as Dennis draws closer. Along with that, very heavy rainfalls, 5, 6, 7, 8 inches of rain, not out of the question. And remember, just a few days ago, Warren, with with Tropical Storm Cindy, we had 5 inches of rain in 2 hours. And Warren, I got to ask you, would you rather be in the studio, or would you rather be up in the air with your Hurricane Hunter aircraft co-workers?
I wish I could be flying. I wish I could be flying. I was almost down there this weekend, but not this one. All right, thanks very much, Mike Sidel. He's reporting live from Mobile. We'll check back in with Mike a little later. Now, before moving into the Gulf of Mexico, we had the situation of Dennis moving through the Caribbean and heading into Cuba. Here's the historical track now on Dennis, and we do see that it came up through the area of say, the Western Caribbean, then between just to the north of Jamaica, and then across Cuba. And then we saw the situation here where it moved into the Gulf of Mexico, and now here it is. Northwest at 14 miles an hour, 115-mile-an-hour winds. I wanted to take a look at this thing, and this has just exploded in the last 6 to 12 hours. It came off of Cuba looking a bit ragged, but it has gotten its act together hugely since then. And look at that eye, just poking out there, a very symmetrical storm, and still very good outflow, all the signs of a strengthening storm. We look at the situation here coming into the future, and notice our cone of probability moving up here in around bracketing the mouth of Mobile Bay. Hurricane warnings up from Pearl River over to Steinhatchee River. Please be rushing your preparations to completion. This is a very dangerous storm.
And the 9th of July. Just amazing.
Unbelievable.
Yeah. Well, as you can tell, we're in the middle of a wild weather weekend. Our live coverage continues as Hurricane Dennis rushes towards the Gulf Coast, where over 1 million people are under evacuation orders.
Don't change the channel. We will be right back with more coverage.